Hey, my faithful ballers. I know it's been a good flaming feather before I've been on this particular video series. I had a lot of other stuff in the works. I still do, but you know what? It's time. Let's just get back into this while I can. This will probably be like a short, quick part. I think this is like part. Let's see. Actually, I think this is part 4 because I think part 2 I had to separate that into two different parts. Because then it was after part 1. Oh wait, and then I think I did part 3 after those two separate parts. So yeah, this is part 4, I think. And if it's not, I'll just change it as I look back over it. But for now, we all left off on Luffy, of course, going off on his journey. Any journey after completely stopping the Lord of the Coast like he did last time. And the same events still happen, and this is the one of the few cases where the same events will still occur. His ship still gets caught in like the whirlpool, and he still needs to go into like the barrel so that he doesn't, drown to death. To death. To death. And let's be honest, that he should have gotten with a better ship. And he's still picked up by Alvita and Cody. And Cody still comes around as the pirates find the barrel, and they're about to break it open, thinking there's wine in it. They just take it from Cody and tell him to keep his mouth shut. They're about to break it until Luffy just straight up burst out of there saying, and I'm free. And then he knocks the dude out that was about to open it, and then he turns around and is like, hey, that guy's knocked out. And it's like, yeah, you did that. And then he's like, I did? Sorry. And then they try to cut him with the swords. And he just kind of disappears right in front of them and reappears right behind them and knocks them both out with ease. Cody, seeing this, is just completely shocked and flabbergasted as just looks on at Luffy. He was impressed with Luffy before, but to see this level of speed right in front of him so early on, it's just... He's actually so shocked. Luffy's just waving his hand in front of his face like, hey kid, you there? You there? And then Luffy just gets tired of it and he just kind of smacks him across the face, and Cody's like, what the? How did you do that? You move so fast. How did you and then Luffy says, yeah, whatever. Hey, so where am I? What is this? And then Cody just tells Luffy that he's on the ship, and he also goes on to tell, and as the two of them go around similar events, he just kind of tells them that he was kidnapped and that he's been scared for 2 years and that he's kind of like, and then Luffy just, of course, he laughs at him and says, wow, you're really weak. I hate people like you. Until he remembers that Cola used to be similar to Kobe when she was young, and he's like, it's okay, you'll get strong enough to stand up to it one day. And Cody kind of looks at him and he's like, wow, really? And then he's like, yeah, sure. I mean, I used to be like that too. And he doesn't say this out loud, but I think I'd say this now. Due to like knowing that Sabo is still there and Sabo having visited him for a couple of weeks to about a month or two. I'm gonna have to look at that again. I apologize if I don't remember a lot about this, but I do remember that they were on break for at least a month, if not several weeks. Probably 2 months. Luffy was with Sabo a lot. And Sabo, when he left, he actually did give Luffy I'm not sure if he would give him a Den Den Mushi. Something tells me he might have, so that the three of them could stay in contact. Like, he might have one, then he probably gave Luffy and Ace one at some point. I think that might have been something that would have happened. And so, let's just say that he gave Luffy a Den Den Mushi. then Luffy, like, he gave him the Viva card. So as he gave him like the Viva card, and then Luffy's actually been somewhat talking to Sabo when Sabo has found his break time or whatever. And through this, Luffy, and of course Sabo has taken a time to, make sure Luffy's ready for the Grand Line and the New World. So he's actually been telling Luffy some information on the side, like when Luffy and Ace weren't training, and then even after Ace left, so like the three of them could keep in contact with each other, let them know what they've both been up to where they've been. But Ace hasn't really been. But then Luffy realized that over the months, Ace actually hasn't been talking as much. And he told this to Sabo, and Sabo kind of just shrugged it off. And Sabo also kind of just, and Sabo was concerned, but he kind of just shrugged it off. Of course, we all know what Ace was doing during those few months. He was going after Blackbeard. But Luffy didn't know that, and I don't think it would be something Ace would have wanted either one of them to know much about, because it would make the Whitebeard pirates look bad, and he wouldn't want to put a stain on Whitebeard's name. So, with all that being said, I don't think it would be something he would try to make even privately known. He wouldn't want to let people know too much about it. That's just something I don't think he would do, at this point. But either way, this is just a long-winded way of saying that this Luffy in here, he's notably smarter and more experienced than the Luffy in canon is. He's marginally more experienced than the Luffy in canon is. Basically, what I mean is to say that he's notably smarter than the Luffy that we know in canon is essentially. He's vastly smarter than the Luffy in canon is what I'm trying to say. He's not a genius by any means, and he's nowhere near as intelligent as Sabo. Well, but imagine how Ace was in how Ace was in the Alabasta arc and what we saw of Ace. He's notably more aware of his surroundings, and he's more, way less naive than Luffy. And imagine Luffy being like that, and you kind of have this Luffy here. Luffy's just notably more mature and way more aware of his surroundings here. Yeah, because Sabo would, of course, teach him at least some lessons to get him to not be, so he doesn't die in the New World or on the Grand Line. So this is a notably more smarter, intelligent, and more aware Luffy. Not a super genius by any means. He's nowhere near Frankie, but he could probably surprise Usopp with his plans if need be. Usopp and Frankie are still smarter, more technical, but Luffy, he's more cunning. He's more cunning and way more mature and more, aware in social settings. Sabo's taught him. You'll just have to see as they go along. As of right now, he just kind of realizes Cola told him about her past, and it's kind of similar to what happened to Kobe, and that's why he corrected himself. So, as he said, I hate people like you, because now he genuinely knows what that's like from his sister's first-hand experience, and he's like, you'll get stronger, of course. That's just another way of how he's aware of situations, but we'll keep going on. So anyway, everything kind of happens similarly. They meet Alvida and Kobe and Luffy, and Kobe's actually more inspired to tell Alvida off this time, because not only does Luffy kind of tell him his dream to be, of course, king of the pirates. He also kind of told him a bit about Cola. Not everything, of course, but he did tell him that he had a sister that was actually indeed similar to be in Kobe's situation, but also that he's way he's stronger than she was back then, and if she can do it, Kobe can do it too. if he's willing, he could probably even teach Cody a few things, like how to move really fast, but only if he stands up for himself. So with that reward there, and with Luffy actually imparting that knowledge on him, Cody actually just yells out of Vita, I'm gonna become a Marine, and when I do, I'm gonna take your fat ugly ass to jail. And then Ovita's about to and then he actually goes up to Ovita and punches her straight in the face. Of course, this doesn't really affect her much, but it does give her a bloody nose. And then Luffy just comes right behind him, and just completely punches her clean off the ship into the horizon. And from there, they just go to the island where, of course, Luffy meets Zoro. Well, and then Cody goes with him as well. Well, on the way there, Cody goes with him as well. And they're both in the restaurant, and they hear about Zoro being tied up, and and as they're learning this, on the way there, of course, Luffy talked about that he wants to enter the Grand Line, what Cody notes as the pirate graveyard, and that Luffy knows he'd need a way more powerful crew than just himself to survive, even if he wants, just in case. So he's need a stronger crew to survive. Literally. They both stop at whose town. They eat some food at a restaurant, where they intend to part ways. They go to the Marine base. They find Zoro tied up, and they see Wika trying to climb over to give him food, until Helmeppo came in and took them, and then kind of spits them out and stomps on them, and then Helmeppo orders one of his Marines. Then Helmeppo orders one of his Marines to throw her over the wall. He does so reluctantly, and Luffy, of course, catches her like in canon, except there are some differences here. Once Luffy captures her, Luffy actually goes up to Helmeppo and his group of Marines immediately, and kind of just beats the crap out of them, like right then and there, not wasting any time, and simply just goes over to Zoro, and asks him to join his crew. Zoro refuses for the first time like usual, and uses the first time as usual. But he does ask Luffy to give him Wika's rice balls, and Wika's with Luffy now because he kind of took her along, and he looks at Wika and he smiles and says, thank you for the food, they were good. And Wika's like, Jesus kind of smiles at him happily. Then Luffy, of course, then Luffy looks at Helmeppo. Luffy then kind of just drags Helmeppo into Marine base with Morgan, and he sees that Morgan has constructed an ugly ass statue of himself. So, unlike in the original, Luffy actually intentionally knocks this down and destroys it, and causing Morgan to rush at him to try to kill him. Of course, we all know how this happens. He tries to cut Luffy's head off. Luffy kind of just grabs it, and Luffy just literally disappears right in front of him. No one can track his movements, and he's doing all this in base too. I'll talk about how powerful he is like when we get later on, but like just right now he's gonna breeze through the East Blue with absolute ease. Just know that for now. So then he just appears behind Morgan and punches him hard enough to almost crack his metal jaw right off. And Luffy's like, I didn't I guess that was an accident, and didn't even mean to do that. Do that. And then he kind of just tries to like put the jaw back on, and he's like, it's all in looks. And all the time, Kobe is just standing in there. Kobe and Wika. Kobe just covering Wika's eyes. That's just like, Luffy, what the hell? And Luffy's like, I didn't know. No, and then the Marines, but the Marines on the left, and the Marines on the left actually don't really do anything because they hated Morgan. And so we don't get that scene where like he gets shot and then it's all over. Then Luffy just asks, hey, so I want to free the guy down there called Zoro so he can join my crew. Any of you guys got some 3 swords? They all hand him his 3 swords, and Luffy just hands him his swords, and Zoro cuts himself free. And Zoro then just says, thanks for that. And then but then Helmeppo wakes up. Then Helmeppo wakes up. Then Helmeppo wakes up. As he wakes up, he realizes everything that's happened. And he just grabs a gun from one Marine and then points the barrel at Kobe's head. But of course, Kobe being extra motivated by Luffy, doesn't actually ask him to help this time. And he actually just grabs the gun as before Helmeppo can pull the trigger. He still gets nicked with the bullet across his cheek, but he then just headbutts Helmeppo straight to the ground, and just begins to pummel him as Luffy's just standing there like, good job, Cody. And then he just kind of applauds like his young friend. And then Wika's like, hey, wait, no, stop, he's had enough. No, Cody just gets off of Helmeppo saying he's lucky that goal is even bothered by a piece of filth like him. As Helmeppo's just standing there with a puffy anime-like face, like a meme. Imagine Usopp's face when he went to like Bum Island, and you get like what Helmeppo looks like now. It was funny. That was cool. Oh, okay, so then they all just then the 3 of them head back to like Wika's mother's restaurant. And Luffy and Zoro are both plotting to go to the Grand Line together. Zoro, of course, telling them, as long as you get in the way of my dream, I'll kill you. And then Luffy's like, yeah, bad. And then, but then the Marines come and say they're grateful to them, but they're still pirates and they need to leave, or they'll be forced to arrest them. Luffy just kind of waves us off, saying, yeah, I get it, you're welcome. And then he just pats one of the Marines on the shoulder as he turns to leave. And unlike in the original, the Marines actually did see a bit of what Cody did. So when they do, showing his extra courage and resolve of this time around. So when Cody goes up to them now, and they see what he did to Helmeppo, and how easily he took down Helmeppo when he had a gun pointed at him, they're like, and then they see he's now a part of a pirate crew. Also, I'm not even sure how they would do a background check on Kobe now. And but then I was gonna say that, but then I remembered that they do have the methods, even in the One Piece world, to find out how something happened a while ago. Like they almost found Roger's people, like wife or something. So, but unlike in the original, I do believe that due to like Kobe's but I do believe that due to like Kobe's standing and what he's been and what he's been and what he's done, and how well he's handled these situations thus far. And even though he does have a sketchy background, I believe they would actually promote him to a seaman recruit right off the bat, meaning he starts with one rank up, and then he looks at Helmeppo that as he's about to like be sent to, and then he looks at the beaten up form of Helmeppo, and he's like, "Hey, can he join too?" And Helmeppo kind of looks up at, and the bruised and battered Helmeppo kind of looks up at Cody, and in this scenario, he's way more wary of Cody because Cody kind of just gave him a one hell of an ass beating, and he's afraid of what he'll do to him if he says no. So he's like, "Yeah, please let me join. Please let me join." And so the Marines let Helmeppo join as a chore boy. They would like to put him lower because he was such an impertinent brat before, but they really can't, so they put him at just the lowest rank of chore boy. Meaning Helmeppo starts lower than Cody in ranking instead of both of them starting at the first rank. That won't really change much with the relationship. Which kind of changes the relationship a bit, but you'll see what I mean later on. And from this point onwards, the two of them it's Luffy and Zoro, set sail as Cody salutes them off. And Luffy said, but then he remembers something. "Hey, wait! You forgot to teach me what you know." And then Luffy just shouts, Just look up something called the Wakoshiki techniques. I'll see how well you've done when we get back. Just, you know how I move so fast? Try to copy it. All you gotta do is kick off the ground 10 times a second and move really fast. It's called Suru. So Luffy just kind of gives him a very quick, basic example of what to do and how to do it. And then Cody's just like, "Wait, that's all it takes?" And Luffy's like, "Yeah, I know, it's easy, right?" And then Cody's standing there like, "Oh, time to get training." Then he just leaves wide-eyed, and he's like, "That's an interesting move, just broken down as such simple mechanics. Wow." Then we just get Zoro and Luffy leaving and headed to the Grand Line. And then from there we get the Orange Town arc. Now, as you can see, there's been some Orange Town arc. So once Zoro and Luffy's at sail, they're of course completely lost because neither one of them knows how to navigate. Luffy doesn't know how to navigate. Zoro doesn't. You know damn well Zoro doesn't know how to navigate. Zoro's like, "Okay, go to the left," and then Luffy's like, "Zoro, that's the right." And Luffy's like, "Do you know how to tell directions?" And Zoro's like, "Of course I do. Now go north." Zoro, that's south. Okay, Luffy does know the base. Actually, wait a minute. Actually, no, I don't think Luffy would Sabo. I think Sabo would probably teach Luffy the basics of navigation, just in case. But then again, Luffy was gonna find a navigator anyway, so I don't think he would have, taken that offer. So Luffy would have been like, "Man, I wish I paid attention to Sabo when he tried to teach me navigation." And then Luffy does look up and see a bird, and he tries to catch it so they can eat it. Then actually, no, he does manage to catch the bird this time. Like, he manages to reach up and catch it. And then he brings it down. Then 3 pirates jump on the ship. And Luffy and Zoro are both there, and so is Luffy with his new cats. And they both fight them off and beat them. And both of them recognize Zoro as the famous pirate hunter, and they explain what's happening. And they successfully captured the ship, and then with the female passengers, he asked for some food and water and offered treasure. They checked the treasure first, but they found it empty and had to go store the ship. We all know that's Nami, of course. Of course, and then the sudden maelstrom appeared and struck the small boat with the pirates, and the girl waved by as he drove off with the boat. We all know Nami stole the boat, and they're both, all of them are pretty, pissed about it. Now back in the present, they go out making revenge, but worry about the Captain Buggy would do them if they're not gonna be handed. Now with this, of course some things do change, because Luffy doesn't get carried into Orangetown on the island this time. They are both basically, so Luffy and Zoro basically arrived there. So Luffy and Zoro basically arrived there at the same time with the buggy it's on. Which means that Nami's still running from the pirates. The three angry pirates. Three angry pirates, so Luffy's not there to save her this time. Basically, so Nami kind of has to find her own, basically is forced to find her own way out of this, as he goes down an alley, and they follow her, only for her to use her staff to flip over them and kick two of them out conscious and beat the other one down with a staff. As he leaves the treasure there for them to get distracted. Then when distracted, meaning that she and him don't meet up immediately yet. Yeah, and that also means that Luffy doesn't get tied up and off with the buggy. But around this time that he would have, both him and Zoro arrive on the island, and of course they meet Buggy, and of course they don't meet anyone immediately. They just see kind of like Buggy. They just see a bunch of pirates. Just see some pirates running around, and apparently there's some dude testing these new cannonballs out on the town. Oh no. So Luffy kind of just takes the hint, and he kind of just hunts down whoever's doing it, beating up the other pirate crew members with ease as he does so. So he even takes out he takes pretty much everyone that gets in his way. He even takes out the dog Chew. Wait, no, not him. Oh, and then they do meet so they do eventually meet Buggy, but however Buggy does, and Luffy kind of just tells him to, stop firing cannonballs on the town, on Orangetown, and Buggy refuses, and Luffy just says, "Oh well," and then he literally rushes forward and punches, and then so he rushes forward and just punches Buggy so hard in the stomach that he actually launches Buggy, that he actually breaks Buggy into pieces right up. And Buggy loses consciousness while he's separated. Leaving him to basically just fall to literal pieces. As Nami takes the time to tie up the separate pieces, leaving Buggy with only his head, his feet, and his hands as they both kind of just, as they send him absolutely full, as they both kind of just leave him. As both of them kind of just and they always just kind of leave Buggy there. Buggy just laying there. He does there, or they would until Nami gets the right idea to kind of pick Buggy up, put him in a cannon, and lights the cannon, and then sends him flying away, like Luffy would have with his gum bazooka. Luffy looks at Nami, and he kind of just chuckles and okay, now that, well, I guess clowns really, well, that's one fly clown there, and Nami and Zoro both quins at that joke. Because Nami's like, huh, looks like you're, just stick to beating people up, okay, dude? Okay? Luffy. My name, you can call me Luffy, Monkey D. Luffy. And this is Zoro. And and Nami just kind of says, I'm Nami. So what are you doing here? Here. And then they both explain the pirates and they're going to the Grand Line, and Nami immediately doesn't want anything to do with them. And then they both go into like the town. They meet the dog Choo Choo too, and they meet the mayor who explains the dog's owner used to own this pet shop. And then as they explain this, they also realize that Witchy the lion does go to attack Luffy. He does, however. But let's just be honest. Luffy just one-shots the goddamn clown and his, and Mohi and Witchy with little to no effort at all. He literally just knocks them out with ease. Just a blow from his punch knocks them out. So he basically saves the pet shop, and it never gets burnt down, which actually impresses Nami more because she doesn't resent him for being a pirate, and also he's just saved the shop for absolutely no reason, and then he just tells the dog, that's a good boy, now, go into your shop now. And the dog just kind of jumps up and licks Luffy, and this leads to Nami actually having a deeper admiration for Luffy than before, as in the original, he failed to keep the shop, make sure the shop didn't burn. But here, he specifically is the reason it didn't burn, and he did it because he just didn't want it destroyed. And then Choncho is just completely happy with him. Then they keep going in, and then they keep exploring Owen's town, of course. And then Zoro fights Chichabi, Buggy's second mate and swordsman, and of course in the beginning he was wounded, but here Zoro was not wounded at all because the events because Luffy didn't get sent there by the bird. So at this point he's just gonna kind of won, and since he beat him while he was injured before, he's just gonna bulldoze over Kabaji. And Luffy's like, yeah, good job. I wouldn't expect anything less from my first mate. Zoro just nods his head as him and Luffy walk over Kabaji's just completely messed up body. And since considering that they've already beaten Buggy before, they don't really get to know that he was a part of Shanks' crew, because Nami kind of just put him in the cannon and like shot him off. Oof. And then so the trio just kind of relax after that as Nami gives him like the map to the Grand Line. And upon seeing Grand Line in 9, and then the trio, she does, and like in the original, she does agree to like go with Luffy as long as their interests align. Except this time around, she actually is starting to warm up to them a bit because Luffy's much stronger in this scenario, and he's also way more socially adapted. So he can kind of like read a room better. So that's not to say he's like a womanizer like Sanji, but he is like more polite in this, what if. Imagine like a more crude version of Sabo's politeness and like more refined but still, primal manners from Ace. Like Makio tried to teach Ace manners. Imagine something like that. That's actually kind of funny. So yeah, Nami is starting to trust him way earlier in this scenario. Due to how Luffy's acted up to now. And due to seeing the strength him and Zoro have. Helps that Zoro isn't injured here either. So he gives them the map to the Grand Line. And he actually deliberately does leave one of the treasures behind again. And he tells him never to do it again. And Luffy's legitimately just laughs in her face. He doesn't put his head under the water this time around, though, considering that, again, he is massively more powerful in this scenario. And he has a feeling that, and he doesn't, and he kind of just eludes that aura of, I did it. What you gonna do about it? And I think and he just kind of sits back and he thinks, maybe they could actually help me. I mean, they've already shown they're really nice people. Could I trust them? And she's like, could she trust them? And we're just gonna leave it off here. Here, the three of them are now on their way with an actual navigator this time. So I hope you enjoyed this new part 4, or like 3, 4, 5. I'm not sure. This is probably part 4. I'm just gonna call it part 4 because that makes sense. If it's not part 4 and it's part 5, I'll put it like in the description below. So I want to thank all of you guys for staying tuned to this series, and if you want to see more of this series, please feel free to let me know in the comments below and with the like button. Let's see if we can get this to at least like 50 likes. Because I really do want to get back into making these what ifs. So I want to thank you for tuning in. And how will the story change now that Luffy has? How will the story change more now that Luffy has the 6 power techniques? Well, we're just gonna stay tuned, my faithful ballers, and I'll see you guys in the next installation. Bye bye.